Before I move on into the next part of this story, I would just like to remind everybody, if you haven't already, to please like the video and subscribe to the channel. And I wanted to talk a little bit about this man. Some of you may have heard of him. Herbert Paul Gilley was born October the 1st, 1929, and died June the 16th, 1957. He was an American country music lyricist and promoter from Kentucky. In his lifetime, he was not well known as a songwriter, but decades after his death by drowning at age 27, he was identified more widely as having likely written lyrics to dozens of famous songs, including two songs that were big hits. One was Cold, Cold Heart, and another was I'm So Lonesome I Could Cry. Both of these hits were recorded and sang by Hank Williams and attributed to Hank Williams as the writer, even though it was later documented that Paul Gilley had written many of the lyrics for those two songs. He also wrote Crazy Arms, attributed to the song, and several other well-known songs. He was born in Maytown, Kentucky, and he died in Morgan County, Kentucky. His contributions to songwriting are not widely known. He is not listed in the Oxford New Encyclopedia of Country Music Publishing, and he grew up to be very tall. In high school, he wrote poetry. His friends said he was a very great writer. At the age of 15, he published a poem in the local newspaper, and he enrolled in the Hazel Green Academy in Wolfe County. And I was just in Hazel Green about 2 weeks ago, and it's a lovely place. Very lovely part of Kentucky. Just thought I'd throw that out there. He was 6'7" tall. He played basketball in high school, and he received an honorable mention as an all-state basketball squad in 1944. In the fall of 1950, he went to Morehead State College on a basketball scholarship, but he left after only one semester. He wrote an article on songwriting for a student publication and was featured in the campus newspaper. He wrote about trying to get a song recorded and what it takes to get your song bought by musicians or record labels, and how hard that is. And so after he left college, he began promoting bluegrass and country music acts, and he started in Campton, Kentucky, and he promoted a performance by the Stanley Brothers. He sold them a song called A Fallen Star, which was later recorded by Conway Twitty and then later on by Bill Monroe. Even though the lyrics were not credited to him, he did write the majority of the song lyrics. His efforts to become a promoter were mentioned in Billboard magazine, and most of his people that he promoted were local. The Stanley Brothers probably being one of the more famous, and became famous later on. So he wrote this article called Getting a Song Published, warning against the song shark. This is someone who asks for payment from the songwriter. And he talked about how if you write a song and you try to get it played or you try to get it promoted, the song shark will ask you, the songwriter, to pay them. And I think later they termed that payola, to get your song airtime, to get it played on the radio, and to get it promoted and recorded. The songwriter was being asked to pay instead of them getting money for their work. They were being asked to pay people to play their music, play their songs. It was talked about later by a writer who wrote a story in 1981 that Gilley had traveled to Nashville by bus, where he met Hank Williams and sold him 2 songs, Cold Cold Heart and I'm So Lonesome I Could Cry. Now, Hank Williams is listed as the songwriter for both of those songs, even though this Paul Gilley actually wrote most of the lyrics for those songs. He sold the songs to Hank Williams, who then later recorded them and took credit for them, being the songwriter. And I'm sure that this happens a lot. I'm sure there are many people out there writing songs that never get credit, whose names are never mentioned. They get paid for their work, and that's the extent of their fame. Gilley sold the songs outright because the payment to him, the one-time payment that they were offering him for the songs, was higher than he would have gotten had he sold them to a record label, So he got paid for his lyrics. Now, his death, Gilley drowned while swimming in a neighbor's pond on June the 16th, 1957. He was 27 years old. His protective mother was so shattered by his death that she did not want anyone coming in and taking any of his belongings. It is said that she destroyed much of his belongings that he had left behind, which included some unrecorded songs. Now, I don't know how anybody would know that, and that could just be a part of this legend. A Dallas music agent wrote to inquire about who was handling his estate, as they were interested in buying some of his unwritten songs. And this is when they found out that his mother had burned and destroyed most of his papers and things that he had left behind. I kind of find that a little bit doubtful, and that may just be a part of this whole legend as to why he didn't become more well known. It's because a grieving parent whose child has just died more than likely would want to hold on to everything that they had. And it could just be that when they came around years later asking if, they could buy his unrecorded songs, that she just told them that she destroyed it all. And that's really all I could find about him. But I wanted to add him to that list because even though at the time he was not well known, he became known later because of his association with this 27 Club. Is this morbid distinction that these were people who all lived separate lives, many of them over the span of decades, who all died at the age of 27, and were all in some way associated with music or some type of celebrity, some sports figures. But I just wanted to kind of talk about some of these lesser known people who didn't get the recognition that they deserved, like this Paul Gilley. And I hope everyone enjoyed this video. Thanks for watching.